The light in Morocco plays with the landscapes. It circles them, lingers, brings them to life. It shimmers behind every ridge, behind each cloud. In the vast expanse of the Merzouga Desert, a new landscape unfolds behind each dune. Shaped by the wind and sculpted by the sun, these sand dunes create a different picture with each step. It is here in this setting of red dunes on the edge of the Sahara where Mbarek lives. A camel driver since childhood, he knows the desert by heart. He has travelled each of these dunes, from village to village, oasis to oasis. As a child, he and his father led their caravan of dromedaries on a nomadic lifestyle. In those days, there were still rains and grazing. They could rear their livestock and sell them on the markets of the Great South. Today, Mbarek's life is not what it was before. He is proud to share his memories and to recount the lives of his forebears with passing travellers.
This is what our ancestors told us. There were no borders between countries. They moved around freely. They moved their camps and looked for a flat place to set up their tents.
Not so long ago, the caravan's route ran through the village of Tamardanit. The market was once colourful and bustling, attracting traders in livestock, dates and cloth. But year on year, inch by inch, the desert has gained ground. Driven by the southerly wind, the red sand has swallowed up the earth houses. The village is now choked in sand. The inhabitants have left and the market has fallen silent.
When I was little, I would go with my father into the Sahara. When we got back, he would say, "Tell me what you saw." So I told him about the desert, the beauty of the landscapes, the movement of the dunes, the light on the sand. I love the nature of the desert. I love its silence. I feel at peace here in the Sahara.
Mbarek has seen the desert change and drought set in across the Great South. Along with other nomads, he now lives in the village of Merzouga with his family, so his children can go to school. In the red sand dunes, he continues to relive the stories of his childhood with a whiff of legend.
Nowadays, certain nomads have decided to move to the city. But I'm fine here. It's so beautiful. God has provided me with what I need to live my life. So why would I go look for something else in the city? I don't want to be anywhere else. Here I've got food, I'm well clothed, and I feel safe. I don't need anything more. And I thank God for that.
The Atlas Mountains offer ever-changing scenery. From the depths of the wadis, river valleys, to the highest summits, a fresh, majestic landscape endlessly unfolds. When the sun is at its zenith, the lines and contours become sharper and the colours of the land become radiant. As if in a finely detailed painting, the tiny silhouettes of the people and livestock are lost in the vastness of the landscapes. At Tidrarine, the red of the earth symbolises virility and power. All the men of the village are horsemen. Shelgoum is the chief of the Tiborida troop, a warrior demonstration which dates back to the tribal conflicts. It involves the bravery of the rider, the power of the animal, and gunshots. Every day, Shelgoum trains his youngest son to become a Tiborida horseman.
We adjust our saddles to mount our horses. Then we will go to train so our father can teach us the Tiborida.
Tighten the straps.
Abdallah has been learning this traditional warrior art since the age of 8. He has perfect control over his horse. But before becoming a horseman in the troop, he must learn to shoot.
He who learns the Tiborida becomes a knight. He becomes a Vadi. And then he can teach others.
My father taught me to ride a horse at the age of 14. He taught me to hold a rifle, to adjust a saddle, how to hold the reins, and to reproduce the movements of the borida. He taught me just as he was taught by his father. And in turn, I'm doing the same with my children.
This year, Abdallah is training hard to be able to take part in the Baroud, the climax of the race, involving coordinated rifle fire by all the riders.
Sit up straight. Go on.
He has to be able to release his horse's bridle at a gallop and spin his rifle over his head. For the occasion, Abdallah has put on his Badi costume like all the other men. He says his prayers and slips a Quran into his bag to bring him luck. Today, Abdallah is about to join his father's troop. and he will then be considered a man.
The borida represents the man, his virility, his power. The borida horseman, the badi, is recognized and highly respected by people.
In the north of Morocco, the riders fire into the air, but in Tidrarine, the final gunshot is aimed into the ground. This is because during the tribal wars in the Sahara, the enemy hid in the sand of the dunes. Shelgoum is proud of his son. Abdallah has proved himself. He will soon accompany the troop to the forthcoming Moussem, the village festival during which the agility and prowess of the Tiborida horsemen are honoured. The royal city of Fez is the cultural and spiritual capital of Morocco. Like Cordoba or Istanbul, it is filled with Arab Andalusian architecture in a wide palette of colours. In the labyrinth of the Medina, listed by UNESCO as a World Heritage Site, the mosaics, the marble, the stucco and precious wood facades rub shoulders with merchant shops. Its narrow, lively streets are the city's soul. At the heart of the old town, the tanneries form the backbeat to life. Families of tanners have been working here since the 12th century. Adam, the first man, is said to have been moulded from red earth. If any place reflects that primal image, it could be here. For the city's hundreds of tanners, red is considered the most noble colour. It can appear as light brown or a full red. Abdoulaye and his father worked together from dawn until the muezzin's last call to prayer at the end of the day.
Most of the people who work here are families of tanners. If a new tanner arrives, they give him a tank right away so he can work. Everyone helps each other out. We're like a big family. I work with my father. When we arrive, first we soak the sheep hides for a long time in a tank. After that, we add mimosa bark. It's brought here from the city of Rabat. This bark is ground for a long time until it produces this red colour. And lastly, we add a dye based on poppy flowers.
Abdoulaye's father has been repeating these same techniques for almost 50 years. From selecting the raw hides to selling the finished leather, the process takes more than a month. Once dyed and dried in the sun, the hides are stretched. The leather becomes supple and is then ready to be sold in the souk at auction.
When he was little, my son went to school, but in the end he stopped. He wasn't doing anything. So I brought him here with me to the tannery. I taught him the trade of tanner. To start with, I gave him a bit of money. Then I taught him to sell the hides. I passed on to him all I know. Now he knows how to do it all.
In the hustle and bustle of the royal city, the cries of the merchants resound amid the rabble. When night falls, the crowded streets and alleyways fall silent. Gradually, like a jewel in a precious case, the whole city becomes golden. Heading to the south, a new voyage awaits. For centuries, the valley of Ounila was the only route linking the Great South to Marrakesh. Through these red landscapes, merchants' caravans from Africa passed, loaded with precious objects, slaves, and gold. The region of Telouet echoes the splendor of a glorious age, linked to the power of the Glaoui tribe which ruled over the Ounila Valley, its agriculture and its salt mines in the 18th century. Here, the Hamria, the red earth, blends in with the buildings in villages and the monumental edifices of the Kasbahs. Set in a landscape with a Mediterranean or Tuscan feel, the Palace of Telouet dominates the valley. This Kasbah is like a dream, a mirage. It still retains the splendor of a bygone age. Its walls are still imbued with the soul of the Glaoui family, whose powerful and respected ancestor is like a great Gatsby of the desert. In the 1920s, parties were held here worthy of scenes from the novel. Ravel, Churchill, Majorelle and Hemingway all visited this Hispano-Moorish marvel, lost in an oriental dream and charmed by the spectacular vision of Morocco.
Not Lawrence, just Lawrence.
You are mad.
Let me take your rotten, bloody picture for the rotten, bloody newspapers.
The landscapes of the Great South have always attracted the greatest filmmakers. Orson Welles, Alfred Hitchcock, and Martin Scorsese have all shot some of their most celebrated films in Morocco, especially in Ouarzazate, the gateway to the desert, drawn by the arid landscapes and the red canyons which look like the American West. At the start of the 1960s, Lawrence of Arabia was the first in a series of international productions shot in this region of Morocco. with Peter O'Toole galloping through the desert, followed by thousands of extras on their dromedaries, and Omar Sharif charging up the steps of the fortified village of Ayit Ben Hadou, which has since become one of the most famous qazars in the world. Aziz dreamed of working on film shoots. He became a set technician and is always amazed whenever he participates in films seen worldwide.
Here and throughout the region, many well-known films have been made, such as Cobra and Lawrence of Arabia. The greatest producers and directors are inspired to film in Morocco, and in particular in the Medina of Ouarzazate. There are so many impressive natural locations and desert landscapes in this region. That's a strong pull for the filmmaking world. For me, working in cinema is a dream come true. All the kids in the Ouarzazate region dream of seeing a shoot or of taking part in a movie.
The 3 film studios in Ouarzazate cover hundreds of hectares. Since they were founded in the early 1980s, their sets have welcomed hundreds of shoots, from feature films to TV series, advertisements and documentaries. For the productions of Asterix and Obelix, Mission Cleopatra, Gladiator and Babel, the town had to build hotels, schools and infrastructure adapted to the world of cinema. These days, the studios are less active, but for the region's extras, students and technicians, Ouarzazate will always be Ouarzavoud, the Hollywood of the desert.
When I took part in my first film, boom, it was a big deal. Hollywood came to us here in Ouarzazate. That film provided a lot of work for people here, lots of craftsmen. At the time, the town was poor. Ouarzazate wasn't familiar with cinema. We took a dim view of it. Once filming on The Jewel of the Nile was finished, it started right away on the James Bond movie, followed by The Sheltering Sky. They're all great films. From that point on, Ouarzazate had arrived. Everyone had work. Hollywood was in town and its money too. Thanks to the movies, I have work as an actor. Because people think I look like a man who's known throughout the world.
Roll camera. Rolling. Scene 6, take 7.
Okay, moteur.
Plus près le sable, plus près. Attendez Simone, recommençons. Laissez-le venir un tout petit peu plus près, je ne le vois pas du tout. Hein. Reprenons.
The light of Morocco cannot be described. It hugs the lie of the land, sketches outlines, sharpens silhouettes. This light inspires the imagination, the impalpable, the dreamlike. Tonight the earth is red, the sky is red, and the air too. Soon, when the sun rises, another picture with different colours will appear on the horizon.